Money is not the problem. Do not worry about it. It will come. I promise you this. As somebody who's done this twice in my life now, when you start over and you like what you're doing, put the money conversation aside. Figure it out whatever way works. Like, you're going to find a way to make that money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just as long as it can pay the bills. If it pays your rent and you can buy like fucking instant noodles for, like, one day every month, like you will live on instant. Do it. I swear to
I've
God, it
been
will
there.
get better. I have lived so many years like that, but it will get better. I just want to apologize because I feel like I abandoned you last night, and I'm like, nah, man. You put me in a situation where I would either be a parts changer or be a real tech and fix the problem. And
Mm-hmm.
you hired me and told me, I want you to be the guy that no matter what, you do right by the customer and fix the problem. And I'm glad you did.
Hola, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable Trades podcast. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and you like this video. And if you're listening to this on the audio over on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or any other platform, please leave a review. That's all free and it helps support the show and helps it get out to more people. And of course, I'm your host, Adrian Garcia. I am an HVAC technician, licensed contractor here in Texas, and I've been doing this about 18 years. And we just have a lot of good conversations with good people in different trades now, whether it's HVAC, plumbing, electrical. I've had some others in like auto mechanics, anything like that. You bring them on, have a good conversation, and hopefully get more trade awareness out there. So I appreciate everybody who's watched or listened, all the support and making this podcast successful and what it is now. I also want to thank the sponsors of the show, like Jobber, which is a CRM that we use to run our business, which is invoicing, quoting, scheduling jobs, maintenance contracts, and all our technicians on our team usually pick it up relatively quickly. I just have to show them what it is and they are able to get out there and start, invoicing. It's been great running our business with Jobber now. And if you guys want a free trial and discount, make sure to check the link down below, getjobber.com/reliable HVACR. I also want to thank Vito Pro Pack, the best quality bags that money can buy, literally. If you invest in these bags, as I did, during the whole pandemic, I ripped so many backpacks and tool pouches that I finally, I found Vito. I think there were some YouTube videos, tried them out. I did the buy one, get one, which that's going on right now. If you guys ever want to buy or try Vito Pro Pack, spring promotion is the best time of year by far. So check out Vito Pro Pack at your supply house or go to vitopropack.com to learn more. And the podcast is also brought to you by Local. Local HQ is a marketing that is geared towards the trades, and they can help you with your HVAC digital marketing so that you can dominate your local service areas with proven strategies that get your business more leads. They can help you rank higher on Google and all that you would need. So reach out to them at localhq.com/reliable and mention me or the Reliable Trades podcast and get 2 months of SEO for free.
So I start looking, and then I find a job posting for AC installs. And I'm like, that looks interesting. I could probably pull that off. And then I look in the garage, and I'm like, I got a couple tools. I got an impact drill. I got a couple screwdrivers and things like that. Like, let's do it. And I don't think anything else of it. So I apply, and they interview me, and they actually skipped the next person to spend an extra hour talking to me about all the consulting stuff I used to do. Because I was like, well, let me see how you review your employees. Because we started talking about how our employees reviewed and all that, and then we start talking about behavioral markers and things, and they were like mind blown about that part. So they were like, you know what, you have no technical knowledge in HVAC, but we're going to start you at 26 an hour, and just show us you can do it, and then we'll raise you. Because I was at the peak of consulting, I was making 150 USD an hour.
Oh, okay.
So I was making good money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I was never going to get something like that again. But I figured if I can get something where at least my bills are covered and I can put food on the table, That's good enough for me.
And see,
So
that's really quick. That's a mindset that I tell people they need to be in if they're starting over,
you
especially
have to.
switching to a trade,
You
right? Like
have to. If
that's
you're
the
not willing
mindset.
to take a pay cut and
I
play the
took a pay
long
cut and I
game,
work for my dad.
you have to. And even in music, like dude, when I started music, I was like
Yeah.
scraping for pennies.
Yeah.
But like that's the thing is like if you learn to commit sacrifice over a short period, and when I say sacrifice, like there's a reasonable degree to it where like if
Oh
if
yeah.
it's too much for you to handle, you might just not be in the right space. But if you
Sure.
like what you do, right, if you enjoy the field you're in, money is not the problem. Do not worry about it. It will come. I promise you this. As somebody who's done this twice in my life now, when you start over and you like what you're doing, put the money conversation aside. Figure it out whatever way works. Like you're going to find a way to make that money, right?
Hmm.
Just as long as it can pay the bills. If it pays your rent and you can buy like fucking instant noodles for, like one day every month, like you will live on instant. Do it. I swear to
I've
God, it
been
will
there.
get better. I have lived so many years like that, but it will get better. And so that's what happened. Like I took a huge pay cut, and we're talking like 150 USD to 26 Canadian. That's a huge difference because 150 USD at the time was like 235 Canadian,
Oh,
something like
okay.
an hour. And I
Yeah.
was and I was and I was doing like 80 to 100-hour weeks sometimes. Like I was working. I was putting
Hmm.
in mad hours. And this is why when I came to HVAC, it was really easy to me because I had spent so many years working like a dog that when I got to HVAC and they were like, "Oh yeah, do you want to do overtime?" And I'm like, "How much overtime are we talking?" Because I'm doing
Yeah.
40-hour weeks here. Like how overtime are we talking? Like 10, 15 hours a week. Can I do more? And immediately, like they're looking at me like, "You sure, man?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, no. Can I do more?" Right. So that first summer, because I started in April, that first summer, I was, we were doing attic systems. We were doing like 3, 4 mini split installs a day, just boom, 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 back to
Yeah, that
back.
is peak
And
season.
and I got lucky because I landed on the best journeyman that I could have landed on. Because we clicked on a personal level, like
Mm.
like best friends right off the bat, but we also clicked on a professional level because we had the same work ethic. He was like he was French, right, from France. And he was a like commercial refrigeration guy through and through his whole life. Then he started doing residential in France in the last couple of years, then moved over here. He is one of the best teachers I've ever been presented. Period. End of story. That guy would answer every freaking question and take the time to just like slow down the entire job. He didn't care if it took an extra hour or two. It was like, all
Yeah.
right, this is why we're doing this. This is why this is important. This is how you do. Dude, I learned how to braise oxyacetylene before anybody else in the business because he was the only guy doing it. Everybody else was using turbo torches.
Oh, okay.
He was the only guy using oxy, and I was like, bet I want to learn how to do that. That looks really cool because it looks more complicated. He's like, not only that, it's better. And I'm like, why is it better? And he starts breaking it down for me.
Mm.
And I'm sitting here and I'm like, this guy is a pool of knowledge. And I just start asking questions every day. And then he
Oh, there you
starts
go.
throwing me because he's French. He doesn't speak a word of English, right? he he starts throwing me all these like cool resources like, hey, I don't understand any of this, but there's this podcast and this thing called HVAC school, and there's this other thing called AC service tech, and he starts just dumping me all these things that he can't. Dude, the first person that he told me about on Instagram was Jeff.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he's like, look at these installs. I want to do stuff like this when I
Yeah.
work because him and I were on the same page, right? So we would do these really cool installs. And at the
That's
time, I'm like,
awesome.
I don't even think I'm not even thinking about making content. I'm just like, these guys are making cool shit. I want to pull this off. So I got so addicted to HVAC so fast that I would come home from like long ass hours. We're talking like 10, 12, 15-hour days. I would get home because we would do like full on like not even just business, but like full on like split ducted systems in a day.
Hmm.
Like they were crazy like that. They wouldn't do it over 2 day periods. They were just
Yeah, I was
nuts.
gonna say normally it's two.
Yeah, they were just nuts about it. Like even attic systems, we were doing it like 3 attic systems we did over 2 days because they were just that crazy. But everything else was done in a day.
Okay.
Sometimes we'd start at 6 a.m. and we'd finish at like 9 p.m. Right. So I would get home and then I'd be sitting there on the couch till like midnight or one, just watching videos, reading manuals, reading books, and just trying to understand like basic refrigeration circuit. Why we're pulling a vacuum. What's it like? What's it actually for? Why we recover? Like all these basic things that a lot of the helpers and even some of the more experienced guys, like some of the leads were not really that knowledgeable. They knew how to install the shit, but they didn't know how any of the things worked or why they were doing it. They were just told by somebody else. So I'm
Oh yeah.
sitting here and I'm like full on addicted to it, and I just channeled that obsession to the point where by like August, because we have 2 weeks of vacation for the entirety of construction in Quebec, right? And it's right smack in the middle of summer. It's the last week of July, first week of August, every year. So they're like, "Oh, who wants to work during those 2 weeks?" Because some guys still want to work, and I'm like, "Oh, I'll work. I just started. I don't have any vacation hours. Just sign me up." Like, "Oh, do you want to try service?" Because I had spoken
Mm.
about it a few weeks earlier. I'm like, I'd be interested in learning how to diagnose and all that. Do you want to try service? I'm like, yeah, sure. So they put me with a lead tech, and then I started doing service. Bro, I fell addicted to that shit. Oh man, I was bringing home manuals and the whole shebang, like learning how control works, how refrigeration, like everything. I got addicted to it so bad. Um, and I think that there's two things that I liked about service. The first part is I'm problem solving, and
Yeah, that's always my thing.
I
Yeah.
spent so many years doing consultation for problem solving and things like that. And then the technical side of it is so similar to music, especially like music production, that like the parallels were just like this for me. We're talking frequencies, we're talking, like it's the same thing to me. Like the physics of it just made sense real fast. So by the time that August is done, I'm out here. I'm like, hey, like I want a truck. Like I haven't even had my 6 month review yet, and I'm like, I want a truck. And my lead is telling me, and my boss is like, yeah, he's ready for a truck. Because at the end, we're showing up, and he's like sitting in the truck, just on his phone, vibing, and I'm doing the whole call. But I'm addicted to it, so I've got all of these, and every time I'm not sure, I just run back to the truck. I'm like, hey, like this is what's going on. I've got this. And I mean, I'm sitting here like hearing Brian Orr in the back of my mind from podcasts that I listen to all day long, saying like, if you're going to come up to a lead tech or to a senior tech, bring all the info you can, like take all your measurements. And I'm like, cool, I'm going to show up with everything. I'm going to put all the work in until I can't find it, and that's when I show up. And so it showed two things. It showed initiative, and it showed that I don't just give up. I try and figure it out before I ask for help. Obviously there's a reasonable amount of time where you should be able to pull this off, right?
Yeah.
Like if it takes you 3 hours just to get your superheat and your subcool down, something's wrong. But that's the thing is once you figure out like you develop a system every time you get on a call, boom, boom, boom. Okay, I've got all my info. Can I figure this out on my own or do I need somebody else to help me out? From there you move forward.
I also want to thank Diversitech. They simplify your work. They have everything a contractor needs to complete a job. That goes from equipment mounting, condensate, management, tools, maintenance chemicals, electrical components, indoor air quality, and much more. They have different branches under the same umbrella. More than likely, you're already using some of their products or tools. So go check out diversitech.com, and it's your one-stop shop for everything HVAC.
Fast forward, I get the truck a few months later, do a couple months of service, and then I end up switching and moving over to doing commercial reefers, like transport reefers. Um, and so I did that for about 7 months. They promised me like, oh, you're gonna get a truck, you're gonna do service, you're gonna be diagnosing and repairing shit on the road, blah blah blah, like in no time. I'm like, all right, cool, because I had a truck and I moved here and I don't have a truck now, and I'm
Oh
working two
yeah.
hours away from home, and they never delivered. So I was like, I'm not the right place. So I came back to residential and like commercial. I mean, it was fun though because I learned like actual refrigeration. I also learned like mechanic stuff because we were working with like diesel engines and things like that.
Yeah,
Like
it sounds interesting. I mean, at
460
least you
volt
got
generators. It's
some
basically
experience.
refrigeration, but with a diesel engine. So like I
Okay.
learned some mechanic stuff on the side too that was actually really useful when I came back to resi and light commercial.
Sure.
Because like now there's not a single freaking machine that scares me
Oh,
because
I
those
know. That's
those
the cool
things are
thing.
actually pretty freaking advanced when you compare them to resi and light commercial things.
Oh yeah. I mean that's the
So
cool thing. I don't do anything heavy, but like once you get all the bigger equipment, like I've
nothing
seen
scares
stuff.
you after.
Yeah, I've seen stuff because we used to do like schools and hospital, like more hospital work,
Oh,
like more heavy stuff. And then like we kind of went
trimmed it
back to
down.
just like fast food. Yeah, we trimmed it back to, just fast food stuff like that where I'm like, this stuff is almost too easy now. And I'm like, but I enjoy
Hmm.
it still, right? Like
You,
problem
you
solving.
gotta stick to what you like the most. Like if you
Yeah,
ask
and
me,
it's
like of all
it's
the things that I
enjoyable.
like, there's two things I like in HVAC. I love working on rooftop units. Don't ask me
Yeah.
why. I just love being on a rooftop. It's so calming, and I'm in my zone. But I also like the actual unit itself is fun to me. And I like working on central ducted systems.
I get some of that because I'm like, send me to the harder calls. Send me to the
Mhm.
more difficult ones. Like don't send me to the easy stuff because I get bored.
Dude, I've done so when I showed up to where I'm at now, they were like, oh, like what do you do, blah blah blah. They tested me out for 2 weeks, and like I really landed on a really good company. Like their heart's at the right place, and they have full faith in me, and it's amazing. um but I land there, and we're doing mini splits, and we're doing central, and we're doing a few rooftop units for a few customers, and that's it. And we start getting calls. This is like October, November, right? We start getting calls for no heating, and it's like, oh, I've got this gas furnace. I'm like, oh, we don't do gas. And I'm like, no, 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 I do gas furnace. I learned that at the other place. Give me the gas furnaces. Give me. So I just go ham, and they're like, oh, do we do this? Yeah, yeah, I do it. And I don't even know what it is half the time. I'm like, I do it. I'll pull it off. This one
Yeah,
time,
that
my
I
boss
mean,
is like, this is like, do you feel comfortable if I send you on a wood furnace? And I'm like, does it have a manual? Like, if it has a manual, I'll figure it out.
yeah, that's something my dad kind of instilled in me too was like,
Hmm.
I mean, for in the beginning I wasn't like super enthusiastic about it. I was interested, but I didn't like when he left me in these locations and like figure it out, right? I got kind of
Dude,
thrown into
uh,
it,
love
but
hate relationship with that one.
yeah, but like he would always tell me like it's not going to beat you, like you'll figure it out, like just kind of like strip it away and go to basics and
Hmm.
take your time, especially when you start, like you said, and I've said it too. It's going to take you a little bit longer to do those first calls in your first year, 6 months, whatever it takes you to kind of get the hang of it. And of course, I've been going through it now because we have new guys, like taking the time as a senior tech to let them figure it out or teach them
Yeah,
this or walk them through it. It takes a little bit longer in the beginning, but then after a while,
you
it just,
have to.
you
You
start running
have
with
to.
it.
Yeah, I got two calls that come to mind when you talk about that. The first one, I was on this really old oil furnace with a heat pump on it, and I get there, and it's the freaking control board that's fried, and it's I can't get the part. It's dunzo gone, and I got all these relays, and like a huge panel full of relays, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at, and I don't have a diagram to help me. And my boss is like, yeah, just rewire it like a conventional furnace, and I'm
Yeah.
like an electrical, right? And I'm like, okay. And so I sit there, I shit you not, dude. I sit there for 7 hours, and I'm like, this, boom, boom, oh crap, okay, man, my motor's not kicking off. Why is it not kick? I sat there for 3 hours just trying to figure out why the motor wasn't kicking off. You know what it is?
What?
I didn't draw the diagram out, right? That was my first mistake. And that since that call, I've always any kind of complex control stuff that I'm not familiar with, I'm
Yeah.
gonna draw it out just to be sure I don't mess it up, right? As soon as I land on something that's a bit more complex, I'm gonna draw it out, pull out a freaking notepad. Like I literally have a notepad right here when I do stuff. Like I will pull it out and just start drawing and be like, okay, this is what I'm looking at. This is what needs to happen. Boom, boom. And then I take that with me in
Hmm.
front of the wires and just go one by one. Boom, boom. Because that's the only way you're going to learn. You're not going to learn only with theory, and you're not going to learn only by just hammering it in practice. You got to combine the two. It's like picking up a new unit, pick up the unit, the wiring diagram, and
Hmm.
just like even if it takes you an hour, just take that hour to trace every wire and understand where every switch is. Where once you
Yeah.
do that, it's so much less intimidating.
Yeah, I get
You
frustrated
know?
now because I'm usually like trying to go, and I'm like, I see a new unit and I have to sit down and look at the diagram, and it's like a complicated one, right?
Dude,
I'm
that's
like,
my favorite part.
well,
Learning
sometimes
those
I'm
new
in a
units.
rush.
I'm a I don't care how much in a rush I am. When I
But
when I have to slow down, I've gotten
yeah,
addicted to that feeling.
you have to, because like I've done that recently. I had a unit
Mhm.
I've never seen, and I was like, all right, we're just gonna look at the schematic. We're gonna start looking at everything, and I need to
Pop the
understand how this
headphones in,
works.
put the music in, and just
Yeah,
roll with it.
I'm like, we got to understand how this works, or we're not gonna figure it out. But like you mentioned that call you had, I had a couple of those before when I started. The first few years, like dealing with RTUs, like a train that has all these boards, and I think somebody recently asked me about those, or it might have been one of our new guys. I was like, look, if the boards give out, if you have issues here and there, like you need to start thinking rewiring it or doing something to get them by. Cause I used to do that a lot, right?
Hmm.
Board gives out. Sometimes you have difficulty getting that board. Wire it up conventionally, right? Like
Hmm.
go start landing on the
Yep.
contactors, start
Pull the
landing.
relays, pull whatever you got to pull
If
out
you
of the
have
truck to
to,
make it work.
yeah, I was gonna say if you have to install a contactor, because we deal with that too, like the VRF on the
Yeah,
blower wheels
VRF,
and stuff like
VRVs.
that.
Hmm.
Uh, you might have to go and put a contactor in its place. You might have to get a
Hmm.
relay to get that going. You got if you can figure out the wiring, that's the toughest part, I think,
It is.
and that makes everything so much easier. And that's what I learned from my dad because he's the electrician. I would always
Hmm.
ask him like, how does this work? How does that work? Okay, like I had to understand different like transformers and relays and stuff. And then I was able to basically rewire anything that I needed to, right? Like
Yeah.
it made sense once I got the electrical part down. So that I've done those RTUs where we had to rewire it like that, like with contactors and relays, and just kind of landing off the thermostat, getting them going. There's different little things that you learn
Hmm.
um,
I
along
remember,
the.
I don't know if it was you or somebody you had as a guest talking about how in school they had this one guy wire everything with the same wire
That
color.
was me.
That
That
was
was a
you,
guy. That
dude.
was a
That
classmate of mine.
that was so amazing to me because I'm like, dude, if you get to that level of you can take the same color wire and wire an entire unit up, regardless of
Yeah,
the unit, that level of understanding is what needs to be thrived for to understand controls.
and I never
I
knew if people understood me when I was talking about that, because like for me when I saw like seeing it there just blew me away, because I'm like, dude, and that's
it's
why the
it's
teacher
crazy
like brought it up. Like he's like, look, he did it
that
a different way,
that
but it's
that's what it takes. That
yeah.
is literally if you want to get good at controls. Like you can do this in your own house. I could do this with my electric furnace right now. Like just strip everything, pull wire from the truck, and just go step by step. Like okay, I need like four sequencers. I need this. I need that, and just roll with it
Well, see, that
and just
reminded
try.
me of another one that I always say famously almost kicked my ass, because it
Hmm.
was a Linux unit with all the boards, all the wires, and somebody
Stripped
went
out,
and ripped everything and wire nutted everything. They tried to do something with it, and I was like, this makes
and it
no
didn't
sense.
work.
So
Yeah.
I had to spend a day figuring it out, and we were there for like probably the whole week trying to get all their systems going, right?
Yep.
Like it was a mess, and that one really stressed me out because I was like having to figure out what were they trying to do, where did they put all these wires, where did they go back to? That's a big
Hmm.
diagram, and then trying to figure out, okay, we need this, we need that. Uh,
I
just
had one like that like 2 weeks ago actually. So I show up to this customer's house. He's got two zone systems, and one of them the heat pump, the compressor shot. So it's a 21-year-old unit or something like that. So we're like, okay, like do you want to repair? Do you want to replace? Like blah blah blah. He's like, oh, swap it out for something new, right? So we started swapping it out for something new, and I told the office like I need to be on this install because of controls, because he's running a dedicated zoning panel that has its own dedicated transformer. I get there because they called and like, oh, it's not working. Like they called me on a Friday at freaking 6 p.m. and like, hey, like we're not able to get the unit running, and I'm like, because I'm not on the install. So
yeah.
I show up on Monday morning and I'm like, and I mean this is shoulder season, so it's not that big a deal. And he's got the other system's still going. I show up there and I'm like, okay, what did you do? And he had stripped all the stuff, and I'm like, we should have sold a
Yeah.
new zoning panel. That's the first thing. And that's literally this weekend. I got a call from the sales rep, and he's like, hey, like they're still having issues. I'm like, you should have sold the zoning panel right off the bat. Just give them the zoning panel. Like
Yeah.
that's going to solve all the problems. So basically, the thermostat was sending O to the zoning board, and then they took the zoning board's O and connected it to the heat pump. But now you're on two different transformers, so it wasn't working,
Mm.
right? So what I had to do is install a couple relays to have the zoning board click a relay on, and then power on the reversing valve. Nothing really complicated when you have everything laid out in front of you. But if you have to undo what the previous guy did, at least it was
Yeah.
my guy, and I could call him up and be like, "Hey, why'd you do this?" Like that helped out, but like, holy crap! But even like the first ever like solo rooftop call that I got, I showed up and it's like really big rooftop unit, and I'm like, I think it was my second time seeing a rooftop unit up close, right? And I'm on my own. Everybody's out for the weekend, and like or no, not even out for the weekend, out for Christmas. Everybody's gone on holiday, so I got no resources except my boss, who's like the owner, who's like, call me up if there's anything, right? But that
Mm.
day, like they had a really crazy thing going at work. Like somebody tried to like rob us and whatnot. So he was in a like completely different mindset than helping out at Green Tech, right? So at some point he calls me up, and I've been on the roof for like an hour. I changed a couple of fuses because they blew, and checked a couple of things. And he calls me and was like, "Hey, so kind of forgot about you. You doing all right?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah. So far, this is this." And I did a TikTok about this one actually. I'm like, I got this. But I got this issue at this point, and I don't know where to look. It's like, all right, well, give it another 15, 30 minutes of digging, and if you don't find it, just call this part, and then get out of there. And I'm sitting there, and then he hangs up, right? And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, this is the day before our Christmas party.
Mm.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, it's like 6 p.m., right? Nobody's there, and it's getting dark because it gets dark really quickly for us at that point in the year. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, nah, man, I'm not going to be the guy that on my first ever rooftop unit, which I love working on these things, right? I've always dreamed of working on them. My first ever call on one, I'm going to be a parts changer. Ain't no way that's happening. I was like, this is not going to happen. So I ended up digging for about another hour to realize that one of the terminal connections on one of the safeties had blown off. So I just redid
Mm.
that. Boom, tested everything out, ran smooth for the rest of the winter. Walk in the next morning for the birthday party, or for the Christmas party, and my boss comes up to me at some point, and he's like, "Hey, man, I just want to apologize because I feel like I abandoned you last night." And I'm like, "Nah, man, you put me in a situation where I would either be a parts changer or be a real tech and fix the problem, and
Mm.
you hired me and told me I want you to be the guy that no matter what, you do right by the customer and fix the problem. And I'm glad you did." And I'm like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, I have the best boss in the world, because he was humble enough to admit where he failed,
Mm.
and was awesome enough to be like, hey, like, I'm glad you did the right thing. That to me, well, that was the moment where I was like, I'm in the right place. Like I've got the right company that I'm working for now.
I also want to thank our new sponsors, CallRail. So I've been more into marketing and just online presence with our business. Even though we only do commercial, word of mouth is really good for any business. But once you get to a place where you want to be, a big name online or just anywhere, be recognizable, like I said, online presence, have a nice website, be able to be searchable in Google and all these different search engines, and just have a big presence. You need to know where to spend your money, and all I'm going to say is that CallRail can help you track that if that's something that you're interested in. CallRail can tell you, hey, these are not working so much, these are working really good, stop spending your money here, put more money and effort into this, and just be smarter about what you spend. So make sure you go by callrail.com. They do have a no risk free trial and you can check it out for yourself. I also want to thank another new sponsor, Residio. Basically, they help with a sustainable home and they make it a safer, cleaner, and smarter home. They have so many things that work together. They were showing me the new thermostats that they have going on, how it's implemented together, and all these different little, smart devices that connect and talk to each other. So if you want to learn more, head over to residio.com and check it out for yourself.
Cutting corners is where I have a hard time. Like I've had situations where, like this happened a couple times in the last couple weeks. I get to really old units, right? And I'm like, I look at them and I know that if I start changing out parts and like repairing this, they are going to spend more money down the line. And we're talking about residential, right? So it's a little bit different in terms of urgency. There's no value in me telling a customer, hey, let's do $2,000, $3,000 worth of repairs over the next 5 years because it's going to keep having issues. Like, let's say you've got a compressor running in a vacuum because it's got a leak, right? It's not just like, let's say the evaporator was the thing leaking. It's not just the evaporator that's the problem now. I've got to change out a dryer. I've got to, make sure my system's not acidic. I've got all these other things. And the compressor probably ran hot for a hot minute. It's got damage, like all these things where what's the benefit of me telling this customer, hey, I'm going to give you, a repair on a 20-something-year-old unit that's out of warranty that's going to end up costing you more over the next 5-10 years rather than, replacing. Now, a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll cut the corner of just going like, oh, your unit's shot, let's put a new one in. And that's where they stop the conversation. Where I have a hard time with that is like, that's not the truth of what you're seeing. You have to explain the part where you can repair. Repairing is possible. It is going to be cheaper in the short term, but there is a risk that it's going to be more expensive in the long term. And then the customer, you got to give them your job as the technician is only and solely to inform them of the possibilities and the solutions that are available. And then they get to choose, because then it's on them. Fundamentally, you're trying to just save them money. That's really what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to save money, keep them comfortable and cold. Like that's it. That's it. That's all it is.
People get caught up when they want to sell a unit, when they want to sell something. They caught up in like cars. How much money they can make as a technician or a business owner. Bonuses you get. I know people get commission, all that kind of stuff.
I don't even get commission, and I'll tell people to replace their shit.
Yeah, like the people get caught up in as a technician, what are you getting out of it, right? My commission, or a business owner, like how much can I sell? And yeah, it's not about us. It's about the customer. Like how much money can I save the customer? How much, my reputation is a big deal to me too. Like if I'm always, because I think one of our guys was trying to condemn a few units, right? And it was justified. But I'm like, look, after you start condemning or recommending, 3, 4 in a row, you need to calm down a little bit, because they're going to think you're just a salesman. I just always put that in their ear. Like, let us assess it completely, because even a big business, because like I said, we do fast food and all that. At the end of the day, they're not going to want to spend a boatload of money either sometimes.
Yeah.
And they're going to look at
nobody's
financials.
Trying to spend a boatload of money. They have to. The cash flow has to make sense. And
because people tell me all the time, like, oh, it's commercial, just tell them that they need a new unit. No, like that doesn't work like that.
It's the exact opposite most.
And it's funny when I deal with and it's funny when I deal with the cooks and stuff, and they're like, can you please tell them to get a new unit? I'm like, well, for one,
yes,
I wouldn't have a job if I didn't fix this.
But that's the thing, right? So the cooks and us, right? Let's take that as an example. It's not their job, and it's not my job to decide whether we put a new unit in.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing. Is like the owner of that unit is who decides.
Mm-hmm. And it's like unless it gets to a point where it's dangerous to run, or like it's falling apart, then of course, like I will condemn it. I will shut it off, get a new unit.
And when you provide customers with all of that level of information and detail in what you've done to get to that information, they will appreciate and respect your input so much more.
Mm-hmm.
I have customers that literally call me up and they're like, "Hey, like on my personal phone, right?" Because a lot of guys are like, "Oh, I don't want to give them my." I'll give them my phone because I know they
Yeah.
won't call me back because I do the work that's required to not get called
Mm.
back. Show up there and they're like, "Yeah, it was cooling and heating great up until like 2 weeks ago, and then we had a power surge and then it's not working no more." And I'm like, "Huh, okay." So look at all this stuff inside. Everything inside looks fine. So kick it off, ask for cooling, go outside, plug my probes in, put my clamps on, start checking to make sure that I got voltage going to my contactor. I got voltage, but it's not kicking on. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what is going on? And so I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have 24 after the low pressure switch. So then I go back and I hadn't opened up my phone to check my pressures yet, right? I plug that in. I don't even turn them on until I'm like I see the unit running usually. So I turn everything on. I'm like, okay, I'm actually like empty. I'm like, but it was running fine 2 weeks ago. Like, what the heck happened here? And then my brain starts racing because like there's a power surge, dude. I'm like, all right, let me just fill it up with nitrogen and see what happens. And I'm sitting here and it's like, crap. I just went from this is going to be a quick call to this is going to suck. And I know, right? So I text my wife. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to make it for supper for the birthday party. Blah blah blah. And I go ahead and I start putting nitrogen. I always start my leak checks off at like 50 psi. I don't remember why. Like I heard somebody talk about this in a podcast at some point, but like when you're working on older units, just start them really low because sometimes we'll catch them easier that way. And what I don't remember who or what or when or why, but I know that I've done it since this way and it just works. So I just put 50 in there, shut the valve off, and immediately I just started hearing it hiss right from the inside of the condenser, and I'm like, what the heck? And I'm talking like full on like open valve, like if I cut the tubes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't see anything. Like what's going on here? So take the fan out and just pop my head in and start feeling to find this leak. The wires had been rubbing out, and when the power surge hit under the tube, it literally exploded a hole about the size of like I want to say like maybe like 4 millimeters, 4 or 5, huge hole. But I couldn't see it visually, right? And I couldn't see the wire rub out visually because it was passing under, and it didn't look like it was stuck to the tube. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! The power surge did it went through the whole unit, didn't do any damage until it hit that one rub out, and it arced all the way onto the tube and blew the tube open. I
Yeah.
hadn't seen that one. I've seen a lot of weird stuff so far in 2 years, but that one I hadn't seen it yet. And I'm sitting there like, okay, well that's not as hard to fix. That's a lot easier of a fix. That's a dryer. That's a quick patch job
Yeah.
with brazing, and then I'm out. Right. So like 2.5 hours later, I'm out of there. But it's those types of calls that you get, and you're just like, what the heck? Like, how do I land on this stuff? I had another one where that was last Friday. Um, Again, last call of the week. It's always I just realized it's always the
I
last
always say
call
that
of the
too. It's
week, dude.
always Friday afternoon or it's after 5 or whatever.
Brand new install, 6 months old, right? 6 months old, and we installed this in like October, I think, and it was like no problems whatsoever. And then they kick it off in cooling, and like, it's not working. Like it's just not kicking on. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not kicking on? Like this doesn't. The only times I've seen it happen on these new Gree heat pumps is if like the drive board or the main board or the compressor is like defective from factory, which didn't happen it happened to me twice. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, the heck? Like what is this? So I start looking and like right away he tells me like, yeah, breaker's on, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. Check the disconnect, and I'm like, I don't even have 240 at the disconnect. But he's like, breaker's on. So I'm like, okay, something's wrong with breaker. I go to the breaker and I'm like, where's your breaker at? Like, where's the breaker for the heat pump? Because
Mm-hmm.
I got a 50 amp right here, and it requires a 30 amp, and I know because we take pictures of of everything we touch, right? So I know we installed a 30 amp. And I'm looking for the 30 and I can't find it. But under the heat pump line is a 50 amp. And I'm like, what's this 50 amp for? He's like, oh, that's my electric car charger. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, wait a minute, open up the panel, start looking, and then I find the wires and I'm like, they cut the wires out. They stole, because that's what happened, they stole
Yeah.
the breaker to install their breaker, just left things as is, didn't say anything to the customer. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, there is no way. There is no way. This is the meanest thing I've seen. And you know, I didn't make a video about it because like lately I've just been trying to focus on like dialing in my process to get to that level where I will be able to just make videos that have value. And again, I said it earlier, but we'll get to that in a minute. Um, but I was like, that could have been a video, right? But it's the type of weird, dumb stuff that you see sometimes. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
somebody went beyond cutting a corner on that one, you know?
Yeah, that was the idea for me starting mine. I'm like, I see so much crap out there.
Uh,
Now it's not as bad because we have it under control. We have
yeah.
the same customers now. We're not like doing work
See,
outside of that. But
I like where I'm at because I only do new customers usually. The only time I do
oh,
existing
okay.
customers, because we're two techs on the road. Um, we got one who's been, you know, he's been in HVAC for like 2 decades, so he does all of our like warranty work because he's like super fast, dude. He'll show up somewhere and he'll be like, he'll hear the customer talk, and nine calls out of 10, he just like immediately zones in on the exact problem without checking anything. And I'm like, whoa. But he's good like that,
Yeah,
right? Um, so he does all the warranty stuff. He just diagnoses all the existing customer issues, repairs them. He's super fast. So I get all the new stuff, but I get all the janky stuff too.
yeah, yeah.
I get all the really weird. And at first, when I first started making content, I was like, this is the content that I like doing because it was fun, it was new, and all that. But then I started getting so much of it that I don't think that that's where I can provide value in the content space anymore. Um, and now I really want to like I'm looking at it more from an education perspective. Like I'm good at educating. I want to figure out a way where I can educate, but on the field. But it
That's good.
needs to make sense. It can't just be like these quick, like short form videos. But I don't necessarily know that I want to do it YouTube style either. I don't know. It's weird. It, I don't know how to describe what I want to do, dude. I'm not there yet.
Well,
I'm
at some
still
point,
working on.
yeah, at some point you'll get it and you'll
Oh
put
yeah.
it out there because everybody, like even me, I started mine like for that, for the crazy things that I saw, and then I got feedback. I got people saying that this helped or whatever, and then I
It's
was like,
evolved
okay,
a lot.
let me pivot, right? Because
Hmm.
and I'm like that too. Like the whole space has evolved in itself. Like there's
Hmm.
so much great content now, right? And I feel like
Hmm.
even if you're getting into it now, there's still a place for everybody. Like
Oh yeah. Like
people
there's never going to be a
gravitate.
shortage of weird issues. There's never going to be a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
shortage of
Well,
quality installs.
people also
You
gravitate to different people. Like they're like not
Yeah.
everybody is gonna like the same content creator. I mean that's just the way it is. But yeah, I had to pivot a little bit to okay, let me actually show what I'm doing. Let me actually explain something. I'm actually interested now in also doing like some educational stuff to just to bring like you said value and be more like because I got some messages again. I get them every now and then that they makes me rethink my content sometimes that they play my videos in a classroom setting. And I'm
Hmm.
like that's crazy cuz I'm like sometimes
Hmm.
sometimes I'm swearing, sometimes I'm upset, sometimes I'm
But
doing something.
you know what? I'll say this about that though, right? Having been an educator for a good portion of my career, um, in music, but it's same concept. The fact that you don't like aspiring techs need to see what it's actually like on the field. If they don't, if they only see the edited
Well,
stuff and they
yes.
don't see you swearing at the hard shit, they're gonna have a different thing coming for them when they actually get into it. That's why I like Jake Blue Collar Bill. I like his stuff so much because you see him struggling so hard sometimes on stuff. But like,
and
I
and
love
his
that.
and his interactions. I mean,
Yes,
I'm always
yes.
for like not showing the customer, but like he just records like the
He
conversation, right?
does. Yeah, he does
And
everything, and
how he
I love
handles
it.
it, and that's also important too, like how you deal with
Yeah,
customers and
dude.
stuff like that.
Adam Wolf of HVAC. He that night where we met at the at that one after party there. Adam brought me back to my hotel, and we were talking about that. And it was like, dude, that's why I record this. I was like, part of it is like you need to show people that
Hmm.
side of it too. It's important. But like that one video he did where he's got that guy watching him clean
The blower,
the blower, bro.
that's what got me
That was
hooked.
my favorite. That was my favorite thing, dude. Because that's exactly
Yeah,
like I've had those customers, and I know so many techs who've had those customers where they're like, "You sure you're doing the right thing?" And I'm like, "Yes, dude. Like
yeah, and
that's the content. That's what it takes.
that
You
was the
got to show
best.
that part of it."
That was the best, and he was able to get like
He blew up from
almost
it.
all of it right, and it's like
Yeah,
I'm there watching the whole time, like, Adam, how are you not like getting
losing your
upset?
mind, dude. And I think it's important to show that. Like I remember real early when I started. I had this one guy. Uh, it was me, my lead journeyman, the French guy, um, and this new kid. His name was Miguel. Right, Miguel's like straight from Mexico. He's been in Canada for like a month and a half, and he's working with us. Right, speaks broken English and barely any French, but super amazing dude. Works so freaking hard. Like the kid is motivated, but like super motivated. Like always right behind us. Just constantly like, hey, you need this, you need this. Like he's already cleaning, and we're not even done working. Like amazing kid, right? And this is like the maybe like fifth or sixth install that he's doing outside on his own. So we're like, all right, cool. Get started upstairs and whatnot. I start, undoing the furnace upstairs. My lead's name's Nick. He's undoing he's prepping the new furnace downstairs, and it's his first time seeing the older service valves, right? And so he doesn't know that you gotta crack it a little bit to be able to see what pressure you have. So he's got no idea. He just, oh, 0 psi, cuts the lines open, starts blasting all over this customer's wall and
uh
whatnot, right? Like all the oil and everything. Like at the end of the day, like, dude, kid's a helper. He's a new guy. Like it happens to the best of us, right? We all make mistakes like that. You don't know what you don't know. But the problem is the customer was like right above him in his window, watching him do this the whole time.
oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. And all I hear, because I'm inside at this point, right? I'm in the attic, and all I hear is this guy just barge outside. Like I hear him from inside say, I'll translate to English because it was in French, and this guy is like full on like hillbilly French, right? Like hillbilly Quebecois, and he just barges out and starts screaming, "You motherfucking immigrant!" Blah 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 blah. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, "Oh no, you don't." Now
Mm-hmm.
at the time, I wasn't even aware that there was content being made in the HVAC field, so I was like, the reflex of pulling my phone out wouldn't even have been a thought. And I mean, it's not the first thing I think about when situations like that happen, but this is the type
Yeah,
of
yeah.
craziness that you'll see. Okay, like it happens, and he just goes off on this kid, and this kid's 19. Like, dude, this is a literal child in my eyes, and I've never seen this kid not smile, right? And I come down, and I mean, I heard that part, but then I didn't hear everything else that came after it because the way the walls were. So I come down, and I go see Miguel first, and I'm like, "Yo, you good?" And he's like, "Nah, man, I ain't good. Like, I don't know what to do." And I'm like, "Bro, it's not on you, man. Like, don't worry about it. Just go take a few minutes, go smoke a cigarette, whatever it is. Just take a few minutes." I go see my lead, and I tell him this, and he's exact same personality type as I am, right? So we both we're crazy against injustice. We both fire up to the point where we're like, man, we got to go talk to this guy. Like we're not doing this job if this guy's going to be like full on racist. Like the things that
Yeah.
he said, bro, full on racism. Like had I not been working, I would have probably punched the guy out.
Yeah.
And I did the civil thing, like I confronted him, but in a respectful way. But had I been in any other context, I would have punched the guy out. So we walk up to him and we're like, "Hey, so what's the problem here?" And he just goes off in our faces. It's one thing you go off and I don't catch it, but like you go off in my face about my guy. I looked at him and I said, "Oh, is that so?" I turn over and the front door is still open. I'm like, "Yo, Miguel, pack everything up. We're going home." And this guy starts losing it. He's like, "Oh, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. I paid X amount of money. I did a deposit." I'm like, "Oh, really? Here, let me call the office. We'll refund you your deposit. I'm not working for you." And I'm damn sure nobody else is gonna want to either. Dude,
Dude.
by the time we had done we were done packing everything up, we had already like the whole unit was like already like undone, right? By the time we had packed everything up, he was begging us to install. He was like, "Oh no, please, please, I'm so sorry." I don't care, dude. I'm out. You're not gonna pull no racist shit on me. I don't care what your belief system is or anything. I'm here to work for you. Do not treat me like shit. I can take it. I've taken a lot of shit in my life, but don't treat my guys like shit. I will. You got a different thing coming if you're gonna pull that off on anybody in my team. I had one current company I'm at now. I had one guy start treating the girls in the office like that, like calling them like whores and things like that, right? On the phone. When I heard that, I show up to do the repair, right? And this isn't even our install. This isn't our repair. Like none of it, right? I did the service call, and it's not my fault that you have a shitty unit with a shitty distributor that is notorious for giving us the wrong parts, and we don't work with
Oh,
them
okay.
usually. And he was aware of this like from the get go. I told him, I'm like, "Hey, like we have issues with this distributor. We always get the wrong parts, and we always lose money, so we stop working with them. If you want, we can order it, but I can't guarantee anything. Okay, I can only guarantee I can't even guarantee the repair actually because I don't even know if they're going to give me a part that works or a defective part because we've had that issue with them." So he just goes off on the girls at work at the office. I get there the next time and I'm like, "Hey, you know what? Here's the part. Figure it out yourself. Fix it yourself. I'm not working for you." He's like, "Oh no, 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 I'm so sorry." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Look, you scream at one of my guys again, or anybody at my place again, I'm done." And my boss went even harder on him. My boss started like going hard on him on the phone, dude. Like
That's no look
you
like
gotta
the
you
the
gotta have
whole
boundaries,
yes,
you
yes,
know?
the whole trades in general. I mean, I can only speak from HVAC, but I know
It's
I
like that
know you
everywhere.
got I know you got to have a tough skin. Like I've dealt with it. Like and I
Mhm.
was 20-ish when I came in and I'm like, "Oh, like I don't want to step on any toes. I don't want to get chewed out." I've run into this like some weird customers, right? They'll give you crap just cuz they're in the bad mood or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got to figure out your boundaries there because in the
Hmm.
beginning I was like I guess we got to put up with it. I guess we got to do this, we got to do that. And my
But
dad was always the
you
one
know,
that had to come in and stick up for us, right?
yeah.
So he's always the guy. And it's funny cuz he still does it cuz the other day somebody, I think it was like a cook or something. And I get this every now and then. Some of the guys there will act like it's their equipment, their business.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
this, they want that. And I'm like, "Hey, I'm here for this call because he's like, are you gonna fix our AC and this and that?" He's giving me like crap for it. I'm like, "Hey, I'm here for the freezer. If they want the AC, I need another request to come in.
Yeah.
Like there's processes to this,
Yeah.
right? I can't just do what you
Especially in
want me to do."
commercial. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't just do it because you said so. Because then they're gonna be
Yeah,
like, I
it's
didn't
not
tell you
how
to.
this works. But even us in residential, like I've had customers do the same thing. Like I'm here for like a maintenance, for example, and they're like, "Oh, can you also check this thing?" And I'm like, "I can, but
Yeah,
this is a completely separate topic here. Like I'm not here for this.
that's another
Like you
ticket.
called
Yeah.
you called us for yeah, you called us for this thing. I That's a whole other ticket right there, right?"
No, and like with this one, because it's happened plenty of times before, but like with this one in
Hmm.
particular, right? Like I'm like, I was annoyed because he kept following me and he kept asking, and are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And they've done that to me at this location. Like, are you gonna fix this? Are you gonna fix that? Like they were like like aggressive about it, right? Like the
Hmm.
tone. And my dad happened to call me because he always checks in with us. Even after I do like a difficult call, he's like, "Good job." He treats all of us, the employees, like like we matter.
Like you
That's
matter.
what I like, right?
It's important.
And
It's
he checks
important.
in on us, right? So I'm doing the same thing now, trying to take over, but that's a whole other thing. But he called me because he was asking how the call was going and this and that, and I just happened to say like I wasn't complaining about the guy, but I was asking him like, "Hey, is there another request for the AC because there is like water dripping through the ceilings?" And that's what the guy was complaining about. And then he's like, "No." He's like who told you? I'm like, "Oh, well, the cook." And I started telling him a little bit, and he got upset over the phone. And 30 minutes later, he shows up. He's like, "Who told you that?" And he just wanted to go and confront them and stuff. And
Hmm.
I think they did have a talk with him because I went to go talk to the area manager. She stopped by, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, let me explain to you what's going on. If you guys want,
Hmm.
put in a new ticket, we'll do that too." And I did end up doing it. But as I was trying to talk to her in the office, that cook came in and he's like sat down. He started. She looked at him like, "What the hell are you doing here?" It's like, get out! Like he's trying to have a
Dude,
conversation with
oh
me. I'm
man.
like, yeah. So
It's
you you run into certain customers and you just got to deal with
yeah.
it, right?
And
But
there's a
you
degree
need
where
boundaries.
like yeah, there's a degree where like some of this stuff is just you got to let it fall in the, like off your back because it's not worth the fight and like you got to be able to take
No,
some of it, right? But there's levels of disrespect that do not fly
yes,
in any professional
and
circumstance.
I
I
have
don't
one.
mind getting ran into by a customer if it's justified. I've had customers give me shit, like actual shit for mistakes I've made. Or even just be like, dude, you're having a bad day. That's cool. But don't like directly assault me verbally or physically. That's where the line is drawn. I've had a customer once where like I had a packed day the day before to the point where I had a day off the following day. Like I'd finish at like 10, I think. And we usually start up at 6, right? So my boss is like, yeah, tomorrow, like you don't have any calls, you're good. Like take the day off. They call me at about 11. They're like, hey, we got a couple calls that are like super urgent. Can you do them? And they're all no heats because it's the middle of winter. And I'm like, fine. You know what? Like it's 11. I got a good night's sleep. Why not? And I'm not shy of doing a bunch of hours. So I do the first couple calls to help out the other tech that's on the road. And then I get to this last call at like 5 p.m. And she just storms out of her house and starts like screaming at me, like, "Oh, I waited all day for you," and blah blah. I'm like, "Hey, I was I was off today. If you want, I can
I
just
don't have
head
to be
straight home.
here. Yeah.
I don't have to be here. I'm out. Like, do you want me to do the call or not?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm like, look, we can start all over. Like, hi, my name's Mark. Okay, I'm gonna be your tech for today. Like, let's hear what the issue is. But just know that I don't have to be here. And even
Hmm.
if it was like a scheduled call on a regular day, you walk up to me like that, I'll turn right the fuck around. I'm
No, and
not
people
paid
don't
to deal
get
with your bullshit.
exactly, and people don't get that you can it's
You
okay
can.
to turn away work, fire your customer, whatever. I mean, that
It is important
conversation,
to do so.
yeah, that conversation has been, I think, talked about a little bit more now, but like
Mm.
we've had that. So I mentioned earlier, like where I can't price match, they'll try and guilt you into, the
Oh, the
prices and
the
this and
Linux
that.
one there, or
Yeah, yeah,
just in
yeah.
general.
So like, I'm like, no, I'm fine. Like, if you want to go with someone else, like, I have plenty of work, right? Like, I'll
Mhm.
go look, and if I have to, I'll go look for work if I need to, right? I
Yeah,
don't want to be working obviously for free, but I also don't want to work somewhere where it's like you feel you have to please them all the time. Like, it's it,
if you feel uncomfortable, dude, it is the
yeah,
worst. No
uncomfortable.
matter what, no matter what the dollar amount is attached to
It's
it.
not worth it
I
because we had
promise you, it's not worth
another
it.
one that would argue every invoice, and this dude was like a millionaire. And at some point we're like no, and then they try to get us back and we're like okay, like if we do it this way, whatever. And there was some back and forth. This was like when we needed work, so like we were trying to work it out. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, right? Like you said, you
Mhm.
can't be uncomfortable, you can't um compromise your situation as a technician or a business owner. But I also had one recently that we had to turn away because the guy just got pissed. Now, one of our technicians, said that he gave them the heads up, like, hey, we'll do what you want, right? And the guy was adamant that he just wanted a top off, right? And the guy's like, our technician's like, you have several leaks. He's like, we need to. I think he wanted to replace the unit because it was rusted pretty
Hmm.
bad. And the guy's like, no, 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 like we'll try it out, we'll do it, and this and that. Sure enough, like a week later, or I don't know, days later, it leaked out, right?
Yeah.
And it was a callback. Now I was a little upset that I wasn't involved. I was busy, obviously, but I
It
wish I had
happens.
been there, right? And that they got chewed out by the restaurant owner. Went out there, you son of a bitch, this, you asshole, this and that. And my cousin just started working with us. And he went after him. And I'm like, he's our new guy. What the hell are you like
Oh
cussing him
man.
out for? Right? He's just learning. And at that point, yeah, we're like, no, never again. We're not going to even offer you any other service, any replacement or anything like that. He got somebody
So,
else and he left us a bad review, but I'm like, that one I can
dude,
eat. There's nothing you can do about it.
here's the thing about reviews. I'm glad you brought reviews up. So I so do you want to know what my nickname is in our messenger group?
Sure.
Super Mario, because I collect stars. Okay.
There you go.
I'll tell okay, but I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why and how I do it, right? Because Google reviews nowadays are like super important. Regardless of how you want to operate your business, the one thing that people are going to look at beyond word of mouth, the first thing they're going to look at is Google reviews. They
Hmm.
will look any name up, and if your name pops up and it doesn't have 5 stars or close to, they're not picking you.
Just think about it as a consumer. I mean, I do that when I go to a restaurant,
That's
when I go
there
anywhere,
is
right?
so much, even in trades, like we know
Yeah.
HVAC is lacking in people, but it's still there's still enough people to choose from regardless of the situation, right?
Oh yeah.
So you got to be aware that reviews mean everything. I am the first person to say that reviews mean everything. But check this out. When I show up to a customer, I'm not looking for a review. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. I don't mention it, I don't nothing. Until I've satisfied absolutely every expectation they have of the call. At which point I'm almost begging for that review. Not in a begging way, but like I'll propose something where I'm like, hey, like, the work's well done. I've answered all your questions. Boom, 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 boom. This is super important to us. This would help us out a lot. Would you mind taking a couple minutes with me? And I'll even guide you through the whole process. Here's a QR code, blah, blah, blah. Right? Works a charm every single time. But the criteria for that is you have to do quality work. You have to be authentic and truthful with your customer. And you have to inform them throughout the whole process and make sure that they don't care whether you fix the unit or not. They care whether they can trust you or not.
Yeah.
From a business perspective, right? I don't even own the business, right? And I do not want to own an HVAC business. I wouldn't like I know you asked this to a lot of your guests. I've owned so many businesses in the past that I'm like, I'm at a point in my life where I'm good. I've done it.
Which is a
I don't need more of it.
surprising answer considering you have had businesses.
I've done it for so long, dude. I
Yeah.
did 120-hour weeks for so many years. And like if you do the math real quick, that leaves about like 3 to 4 hours of sleep every night. Okay.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
it's crazy. I've done it. Now that I have a kid and I've got a second one on the way and I'm like I'm trying to like slow down, I'm actually trying to slow down. If I go over 60, 70 hours, I'm good. I don't
Hmm.
want more than that. I don't want the hassle of coming home and doing paperwork and doing this, and I'm good. I don't need it.
Yeah. I mean, I do it, but I have to mitigate it. I have to pull
You're
back in certain spots to do.
you're at a point though also where you've got, with the platform you've developed over the last couple of years, you could you can easily start delegating, right?
Yeah.
That's the part where when you're running a business, I believe this is your first or second business, right?
First, my dad started it, and
And then you joined, and that was like
yeah,
first time. Okay,
that's like a
so
partnership. Yeah.
yeah, but it's still like you're still running, owning, and operating a business. Um, like when you get to a point where you can delegate, then you can start slowly. But like I've already gone above and beyond all of it, and Had it not been for COVID, I would have probably retired by the time I was 35.
Oh yeah.
Maybe 40. And when I say retired, it's a big word. I would have kept working and doing consulting and studio sessions for whatever amount of fun that it would have been. But the reality of it is like financially speaking, I could have probably done that. The thing is like I'm not in any of this for the money. I do this out of passion. I do this because I love the work and I love serving and helping people. So for me, running a business, the amount of stress versus the actual ROI, not worth it for me anymore.
No,
That's the only
and
reason. Because otherwise, yeah, every once in a while, I'm like, ah, shit, I wish I had my own thing.
no,
It
I mean
happens.
the only thing I like obviously is doing my own schedule or taking time off when I need it.
Yeah,
That's the benefit, right?
yeah.
As far as like the work, if I didn't have to do any of the paperwork or the billing or anything behind the
it's
scenes, I would
it's a
leave it
lot,
to
man.
somebody.
It's a lot.
And I would much rather be running calls. That's always
Yeah.
my preference. Now, I'm learning recently that I have to pick and choose. So, yes, I got to pull the reins back. I got to let the guys do, these other calls. I can't do everything, even though I want to. I'm needed in other areas. I'm needed if I don't get behind a desk and kind of do
It's
the
part of the
stuff that I do,
process. Part of
it
the process.
stuff gets left behind. Like we don't
You,
get.
you, and the other thing too is this is you have to, if you've been a tech for X amount of time and you've done good work consistently for that period of time, you have to be able to transmit that knowledge and build up your other techs to that level to be able to
Yeah.
take over so that you can slow down. Otherwise you're gonna drive yourself into the ground. You see some older techs that have been doing it 20, 30 years and they've been their own boss the whole time and ran their own business. You get to a point where you're so burnt out if you don't take a step back. And I think professional burnout is something that a lot of people talk about but don't know how to address properly. And the biggest thing is you have to be able to find trustworthy people that you can delegate to. I think Brian Orr talked about this like amazingly in one of his podcasts, but learning to find the right team to delegate to and just like shift where your time is spent towards the thing that you are the best at is
Hmm.
how you optimize the business. And it's important
That's
because
and that's yeah, that's what we're doing right now is where I'm trying to just help them more and let them run more of it so that I can do everything else that I need to. And obviously with my dad being older, trying to pull him out of the field, right? And out of the business, eventually I have to do more on that side. So, yeah, because what I've noticed is I've needed to take more breaks recently than I've ever had to because I just have more to do within the business and burnout is a real thing. Like you get tired of this kind of stuff day in and day
you got
out. Like,
got to balance it out with person. Like we don't live to work.
yes, and
That's
that's
so
the
important to remember.
that's what I love when people bring that up. Like you don't live to work. Like you got other things, you got family, you got your own mental to worry about. Don't make everything about work. And that's what I've been trying to realize, the past few years. How long have you been in the HVAC trade now?
I just passed the 2 year mark in April.
You sound like a seasoned vet at this point. You're doing pretty good.
Gotta thank the techs that have guided me, and guys like you, guys like Brian, guys like Craig, everybody who's putting content out consistently. That's the stuff that drove me to be as good as I am as fast as I am. Because had it
And
not been for that level of information readily available, I would probably not have had the obsession I have with
well,
this
see,
field
like
right
that's why I say there's no excuse, right? Like if you
now.
have
Yeah,
it at your fingertips, like
there
yourself,
is
you
every
take
answer
advantage.
to everything. Is like you can pick up a phone and find every manual within seconds. You can like freaking AI nowadays. Like I pull up AI for mini splits, and like I don't even have the manual up, and it'll just
Mm,
pull the specific error code out or whatever. Man, it's the field is evolving as fast as the rest of tech is, but you have access to all of the info you need to learn it. If I look back at like how it was in music a decade and a half ago, it was so hard to do a lot of the stuff that nowadays you can pull up a YouTube tutorial and 30 minutes later I'm like, I'm blown away by it because I spent years perfecting myself to that degree. And I see kids, oh, I've been doing this thing for 4 years, and they're like way past where I was at my peak. I'm like, holy crap, man! Like that's
Yeah.
crazy. But
I
the
mean,
same
I
is
feel
true in,
like that. I feel like
you
that in
know.
HVAC because he's like yourself, but there's also like the kids that come out and they're like 1 year into it. And I'm like, you're doing way more than I did.
But
Yeah.
that's if you want it, it's all there.
Yes.
You just gotta commit to, like, there's pay is the thing. Like people worry about pay so much. Like I said earlier, and like you said earlier, don't worry about the money. If you like the trade, like dive in with both feet right off the bat and give it everything you got in the first couple years. Get obsessed with it. There's this one podcast that I listen to a lot. It's the Sean Ryan Show. I don't know if you've heard of it. There's something that I hear consistently special force operators talk about that just drives me nuts in a good way, about being obsessed with um, like the systems involved in, like with getting better and evolving, right? And like if you don't feel obsessed, and this is true for HVAC, but it's true for anything. If you don't feel obsessed by the work you're doing, you're in the wrong field. I promise you. That is
Oh yeah.
a simple truth. Like if you do not obsess over the stuff you're doing on a daily basis, you're not doing the right stuff. You should be so involved and so invested into it that you want to grow, you want to evolve, you want to do more. Now it's just I get to reap the benefits of waking up in the morning and loving my job.
People might not understand that. And even I didn't as a kid until it really hit for me and it clicked and everything. And I'm like, oh, this is what it's about, right? Like I enjoy what I do even after hours, like reading up or, learning more, or now it's like the AHR expos, things like that. Like
Mhm.
just taking in more information is what this obsession is. And I love it because my business the same way, like I put so many hours into it after work and stuff, and I genuinely love it so much that I mean I can't see myself doing anything else. If I was working in a cubicle somewhere behind a desk, getting bigger pay, cool, but would I be happy? No, right?
Probably
So
not.
uh that's I mean that's the way you got to think about it. When you find something you really love, and like you
It
said,
changes everything.
you go in and it's something that you enjoy. You don't think of it as work. Like it's very different, and it might take a while to get there. You got to take a pay cut. You got to start over somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere, and at the end, it's worth it, right? Like you said, the fulfillment. I think HVAC is a very rewarding trade as well,
Very.
helping people, fixing things, and so many different avenues that you can get into.
Like people like Ben who show up with like a completely different career path, and well, not complete, but like he did music for a long time, came back and brought back
The
that
cri-
experience,
you
and
mean
then
Benito P,
yes,
the Christian rapper?
yes,
Yes.
bringing that influence back into the trade world and then creating a whole award show for it. But like an award show, we're not talking about like no
Yes.
like hillbilly thing. Like this is a proper like full on Grammy scale award show. Like I didn't go yet because I learned about
Oh,
it way
okay.
too late to go this year. But you damn sure I'm going when it happens in Vegas because the
That's gonna
level
be a
of
good one.
production, like as somebody who's worked in production for years, the level of production is insane from what I've seen.
I admire him from that standpoint, right? Like anybody else that would have done it probably would have been like real cut and dry, whatever, give out something.
But
He
the fact he's
cares.
he's in the industry, gets out of the industry, goes into music, gets out of music,
Yes.
comes back into this industry, and then pulls this off is the first time I heard the interview with you, I was mind blown because I was like,
Mhm.
wow, like what, like the level of juggling that you got to do to produce a show of that level on its own, like even if you're in that in entertainment in general, in production in general, is already huge. But the fact that you go from being in the industry, switching industries, and then coming back into that industry, bringing that experience, and then juggling all of that and innovating in the process because that
Oh
wasn't a
yeah.
thing beforehand. It's crazy. It's crazy.
No, he's changed a lot. Like at first I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
what is he
Oh yeah.
what is he trying to do here? And then I'm like, oh shit, like he's
No,
changed kind of the
he
culture and community and
pe-
stuff.
people are going to talk about what he did for the next 40, 50 years, easy if not more. Because I don't think people realize the depth of what he's done
The
in
influence.
terms of the influence and the long-term influence
You
on
want me
the
to,
industry.
because the way I put it into perspective, I didn't know about AHR and I asked and I'm like, it's been around how long? I only knew about all this and the festivities and everything that goes on because of Ben and what he's been
Mm-hmm.
able to pull off,
Mm-hmm. But you know
right?
what it's going to do also? It's going to go a step further. Okay. So, coming from entertainment, right? If you look at the history of Grammys and all that stuff. Um, so, I mean, obviously the entertainment industry now is kind of screwed over, but that's a whole different part of the conversation. But if you look at the the level of professionalism in, for example, the music industry now versus 60, 70 years ago, an artist today has more resources than ever to be like fully like in control of their project, but also fully in control of their revenue.
Mm-hmm.
It's never been easier for an artist to make money. Okay, as much as people want to complain about that, like if you're in entertainment, it's never been easier for you to make money. It's true everywhere, but especially in arts. In trades, making money isn't the issue. Being recognized for quality work is the issue, and it's always been the issue, right?
Yeah.
Um, like dealing with mental health, dealing with proper like life habits, things like that. Like taking care of people has been the issue in trades because you see it with the older generations, like the level of like and it's one thing like um, there's always going to be hazing, right? Hazing is a normal concept. It is as old as humanity itself. But there's levels of hazing from previous generations that just wouldn't fly today, which it's fine. That
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. But that's not going to go away. But there's degrees to it, right? But the reason why it's evolved is because everything else is evolving, and that's going to keep on growing. Is like that care for the human behind the tool or the human behind like whatever medium we're talking about. What's going to happen is you're going to see that level of professionalism and growth become the norm
Yeah.
because that's what happened in the music industry. You look at the music industry like in the last like 3 decades, it's evolved so fast. Now like contracts are standard, um, artists being in control of their masters is the standard. Like there's so
Oh yeah.
much involved now, and you're going to see the same concept over here. Why? Because you got big business trying to ramp up all these mom and pop shops and trying to do all these big corporate buyouts.
Mm-hmm.
You've got all of these like sloppy techs that we're going behind. At some point, with things like the TAC awards, what you're going to see is a standard be established to a point where there is no debating it. And enough customers are going to be aware of it. There's going to be enough customer education to where that's going to be the expectation. We are lucky to be in a trade that is so diverse. There's so much to discover. Um, and it's easy, like I said it earlier, like get obsessed with it. But don't ever forget that it's just a job. Because
Mm-hmm.
you got to be able to come home to something. There's got to be something to come home to. Otherwise, you're doing it for nothing. So keep that balance. Keep the obsession, but keep it like equal in all places. I'll say that.
Yeah. That's good stuff. I think we hit all of those, topics and conversations that can be helpful. I really appreciate you for taking the time out to sit down with me. I think it was a really good one.
I think so too.
Good seeing
Orlando,
you in
Orlando.
Orlando. I've been to so many I forget. But
Oh
hope to see you at the next one, man. Thanks
yeah,
again.
not missing Vegas. Thanks, man.
Oh, it's
Thanks
gonna
for
be a
having
good
me
one.
on.
Yeah, everybody watching and listening, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.